Welcome to another program of the Veterans of Cedar Valley. My name is Sid Morris, and today with me is we have three guests who are going to talk about a veterans program at Goodwill Industries. Dave Boyd is our direct CEO of Goodwill, and we have Leon. Why don't you introduce your
Leon Curry is a veteran who's part of our program at Goodwill, Sid, and next to me is Jenny Ruther, who's our Director of Human Services.
Director of Human Services. Now that's a new role from when I was on the board.
Yeah, we changed the title. The scope of that position has really changed where we're serving more people.
Right.
And so she has a broad array of services that she provides.
Well, when I learned that you were having a program for veterans at Goodwill, I was very interested and came out and visited with you, and I got to meet Leon and that day, and then the next meeting we had, I got to meet Jenny. And I was impressed with what I heard, and I thought we would like to share it with the community and what you're doing for veterans.
Yeah.
So let's start out with your mission statement. I think your mission statement really ties in, Dave, with what you're trying to do here.
Our mission statement is to help people overcome barriers to independence. And Sid, as a past board chair, you know that for 56 years, Goodwill Industries in the Cedar Valley has provided services for men and women with disabilities, whether it's vocational or residential, so that they can leave Goodwill and live and work independently in the community. And what we did was take our mission statement and extrapolate that to homeless veterans. And people may ask, why homeless veterans? We, just by circumstance, discovered that there were veterans that were sleeping under the bridge and all kinds of places, and Goodwill asked themselves, what can we do to be of service to veterans who have done so much for us in their service to our country? So we decided to serve homeless veterans.
Okay. And Jenny, what's your role now with this program? And let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay. It was actually in August we decided to open up a house for homeless veterans, and I oversee that house and I oversee the programs. We not only provide residential services, a home for them, but we can offer them employment as well. And so Leon actually lives in the home, but he also works for Goodwill Industries as well, as do several other veterans that we serve. So yeah, I oversee that program.
Okay. Leon, tell us about your experiences so far with the program. You're a veteran. Tell us about your veteran experience.
I am a veteran of the Vietnam era, and I fell on hard times here a while back. Somebody sprung an eviction upon me, and I was able to get in with Goodwill and get in the house that Mr. Boyd talked about.
Okay. And
it is a wonderful thing. This program is the best program that has ever come about. They treat us good, they respect us, and they show their appreciation for us. Now, I agree with what I've heard. Veterans should not have to be unemployed or disrespected or put down or talked about badly, and that doesn't happen here. We have the utmost respect from the staff. We have their utmost support, and I'm just happy to be with them.
I bet they are happy as you are with them too. Because I was impressed the day that I met you for the first time, and and I want to welcome you to the program today.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you very much.
Let's move on to the homeless issue is of great interest to me, and because I have read about it, I've seen it, and it does exist, and we do have some, I think, some numbers that we could show here on the homeless and how many there are. If you folks would like to share those with us, there's on the screen right now, so you.
Sid, the McKinney Act is a governmental definition of homelessness, and it's a person who lacks a fixed or regular or adequate nighttime residence. And what we found through the Veterans Affairs Office here in Blackhawk County was, at the time, the number I recall was there were 33 or 34 veterans that they had identified that were homeless. Mm-hmm. So we knew there was a need out there and a niche that Goodwill could play a role in.
Mm-hmm. Right. And what about, let's talk about the home that you're providing. Now we'll get to the jobs later, but let's
sure.
Let's talk about the home, because that's new to me. I hadn't heard about it before, other than our discussions with you.
Okay, the home is a 4-bedroom home in Cedar Falls that we rent. We don't own the home. We have a landlord that we rent to. And like I said, it's a 4-bedroom home. Right now it is full. We have had on occasion where someone was in hard knocks and maybe needed to sleep on an air mattress just for a time being. But otherwise, yeah, we limit it to 4 individuals. And like I said, it is full. The program or the process that we go through is through the Veterans Affairs Office. Mm-hmm. The veteran has to be honorably discharged from the service. So they really do the screening for us. And then we basically provide the home for them. We help them get set up with any furnishings, because a lot of the times they just come with clothes on their back and that's it. The community has been so gracious in their donations. We've had mm-hmm. furniture, household supplies, clothing. Even this past Christmas, they had families that adopted a veteran per se for Christmas, and they were flourished with gifts for Christmas. It was amazing. I mean, it's flat screen TVs, winter coats. I mean, it was unreal what the families donated for mm-hmm. these veterans. It was wonderful. So the 4-bedroom home, really, there's no time limit as long as they're making progress towards becoming independent again. You know, we don't want that to be their forever home, because we want to make room for other veterans in needs. So yeah, it's the purpose is to transition out into their own apartment, hopefully someday. And we have had people already transition out. So, I mean, the process is working.
Yeah. How long does it usually take for someone to process themselves out?
The shortest time, I would say, was 2 weeks.
Really?
Others, we've had some, well, since September that are mm-hmm. still residing there. So there's really no rhyme or reason, just whatever their needs are, whether it's, you know, they're working through some mental health issues or health issues, whatever the case may be. I mean, we're here to support them as long as we can.
Let's expand on that.
Okay.
Your statement brought that to my mind. What are some of the causes? And maybe we could also hear from Leon about that too.
Some of the causes, especially in my case, was that I lived in a complex where people were basically very nosy, very intrusive in other people's business. And it's almost like if you don't subscribe to their philosophy and what have you, they tend to speak bad about you and do spread rumors and things like that. Well, if a landlord, for example, buy into those rumors, then they develop a negative toward you, the veteran. Mm-hmm. And that's not always true, what they have heard about us. So there's a number of reasons. There are veterans who maybe lose their jobs, who maybe the landlord just don't like, or a number of other reasons. So the home that Jenny talked about here a second ago is a godsend for me because I don't have relatives here, and I didn't have a brother or a sister or an aunt that I could go to, and it has worked amazingly well for me. So as she said, we need to be transitioning to independence, and I'm on the road to doing that, and they have helped me very, very well.
Oh, good. Well, thanks for sharing your experience. That's very good. Oh, what about job training? Could we get to that? That's another thing that we had on the agenda for the program today. And
yeah, Jenny can give you all the specifics on
Right.
it, Sid, but we know that oftentimes a homeless vet, what they need is work. They need something to do and earn income. And Goodwill is fortunate to have that work available. And so we've tried to couple that with not only living in the residence, but having them work for us at Falls Avenue or in one of our stores where they're learning about work, building a resume, earning an income, hopefully to move them and transition to a life of independence.
independence, yeah. And that's very good. And in what about drugs? You hear about drug use and people who are dependent on veterans who are dependent on drugs, and does that happen with your
As far as illegal substances, is that what you're referring
Right.
to? We did have one occasion where that was an issue, and we asked that veteran to leave. And actually, it's turned out to be a success story because he then since has gone into treatment, has been at least 60 days clean and sober, and now we actually provide residential services in another location in one of our other residential sites where we have staff supervised 24 hours a day to help him get to outpatient treatment. We still employ him at the Goodwill store. He's getting the mental health services that should have been addressed months ago, where he chose to I guess treat himself with drugs rather than the proper treatment, and now he is getting that proper treatment. So it's come full circle. So really, like I said, what started out kind of a doom and gloom situation for him, he's on the right track now.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
very good.
You had an earlier slide, Sid, about the causal factors of veterans'
Right.
homelessness, and substance abuse is on that list. We have found there's a direct correlation between substance abuse and them being homeless.
And what about the home? Let's talk about that home a little
Okay.
bit, because I was impressed when I saw the picture of it. And are you living there?
I live in the home,
Nick?
and it is one beautiful home, and the treatment is good there. We have no one there now who subscribe to any kind of drugs or anything like that. We get along. We make exceptions for one another when we have to. We share, and we pull together.
Oh, good, good. And you work as a team then?
Correct.
If one slips and falls,
Correct.
you're there to pick him up.
As a matter of fact,
her
that
up.
happened the other day, and me and a colleague of mine, we almost got to him before he fell, but he didn't, and we picked him up and cleaned him up, and he was smiling and as happy as a lark.
I'll bet he was. Well, those kinds of stories are so important, and I know our viewers are interested in that kind of thing. That you're doing this for veterans, and not only veterans, but you're doing it for other needy people.
Exactly. This home that we're talking about, Sid, it's consistent with our belief that we should have a safe, warm, inviting atmosphere for anybody that we serve.
That's right. Well, good. And what about finance? Because it costs.
Well, let me address that, Sid. we're doing this veterans home essentially on our own dime. Goodwill is paying essentially the whole expense associated with it. We do get from time to time some rent from the vets, but we're picking up the cost of the lease and the utilities and that kind of thing, and we've provided from time to time various and sundry things like food and whatever they need to get along and get them started. And we've spent our own money to do that. Right now, there is no funding source that we're aware of to pay for it.
Well, let's talk about that because, you know, funding is, you know, I think what you're trying to do will be helpful. People will help with it. And what about funding? What's your plan on funding?
Again, Jenny can give you the specifics, but we are finding that some of the veterans have a diagnosable disability, and that allows us to enroll them in traditional Goodwill programming where there is a purchase of service agreement where there would be funding available for our service.
Okay.
You want to touch on that a
Sure,
little bit?
sure. So as the veterans that we work with, yeah, once we get to know them better and realize that, yeah, they do have a mental health diagnosis, there is funding through the program of IHH or habilitation waiver to where, yeah, we can access those state and federal dollars to get recouped for the services we provide for them. So it's a work in progress. But as far as any outside funding, again, we've had donations from community, the churches, very, very receptive.
Good. That's what we're wanting to get to. You know, churches will donate, and there are other organizations.
Yeah, the community has just been marvelous. And for those that are viewing this program today, we want to thank everyone that's helped with this.
Who does one contact if they are interested in donating to the program? Jenny.
You can call the Goodwill Industries office on Falls Avenue.
And that number?
And ask for me. That number is 319-234-4626.
Okay.
Perfect.
There it is.
There it is, yeah.
So are veterans organizations, other than, I know the VA is, and Mr. Dill is, you know, very much behind this, and a lot of your referrals will come from him or from that office.
Exactly.
Let's talk about that a little bit, and then we'll get to how we can get word out to the community to help with fundraising on this, because I like fundraising.
Kevin
You've
Deal.
done a lot of
Kevin Deal has come in as director of the VA, and he has turned things around tremendously. Now veterans can go there and get help. They don't have to go through a litmus test to do it. He provides any kind of funds for bills and downfalls and whatever you need. Kevin Deal, my hat's off to him also.
Yes, I've grown to really admire Kevin Dill. He's done a great job in our VA, and I served on that board 6 years too. And what they're doing is very great for veterans throughout the community. Anyway, what about in your stores? Do you have any kind of process set up where people can donate to veterans through like furniture and various other kinds of things that they might need?
We do, Sid. In fact, we encourage people that want to contribute to our veterans programs to drop that stuff off and let us know at the stores. We have gotten so much stuff that they've brought to Falls Avenue that our offices are full of donations. I mean, it's a wonderful problem to have, but we'd prefer that they drop them off at the stores, and we'll acknowledge it as a gift for veterans and make sure it gets to where it's supposed to go.
Well, I think when this word gets out, I think you're probably going to have an increase of more stuff coming in.
That's wonderful. Never have enough.
There's a lot of veterans.
Yes.
So, and personally, I want to say thanks to the community for what they've done for us, and we appreciate it.
Well, and we have about 3 minutes left before we finish. What are some of the, have we covered everything pretty well, or what are some other things you'd like
Well,
for
let
people to
me
know?
add to this, Sid. This has become such an important part of our programming now and our desire to serve veterans that we are going to be involved in providing service to veterans in Waterloo. That should be developing within the next month or two.
In the Waterloo store?
Right, no, a Waterloo home.
Oh, Waterloo
for
home.
veterans.
A Waterloo home.
And just this month, in January of 2017, we are opening a new home for veterans in Dubuque.
Oh, really?
So we'll have 3 homes for veterans where we're providing service.
Right. Well, that's great. And by the way, let's talk about your geographic area that you serve now. You've expanded since I was there.
Yeah, we serve 22 counties of northeast Iowa, all the way to the Minnesota border, as far south as Tama, Toledo, as far west as Highway 65 that goes through Marshalltown and Mason City, and then the Mississippi River on the east. So it's a big territory.
All right. In closing, Leon, is there anything you'd like to say in closing today?
I would just like to say, on behalf of Mr. David Boyd and his whole staff, it's a wonderful place to be. They have laid a foundation, and I didn't know all the areas that was encompassed in Goodwill, but they've laid a foundation that needs to be expanded and needs to be acted on all over the country.
Good, thank you. And Jenny?
Well, yeah, again, for any viewers watching, yeah, thank you for all your support. It's been a great experience, and I only hope to grow in the area as far as helping more veterans every single day, whether it's in a home or put them to work, whatever the case may be.
And in
Well,
closing?
Sid, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the viewing public for all the support that they've given to Goodwill, not only for veterans, but our traditional clientele, persons with disabilities, for 56 years. And we've had tremendous support from the community.
Right. Well, and I want to thank you too. And this, being a veteran and seeing the veteran needs in our community this is impressive to me, and I thank you very much.
You're welcome, Sid.
And I want to thank you for being in the show today.
Thank you.
And we hope that we have more coming down the way.
Love to.
Well, thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Okay,
And thank you
you
for your
bet.
service.
Thank you for viewing us today, and we will be back with another program for the veterans of Cedar Valley. Thank you.